Arizona, Sun Devil Stadium, and the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, where tonight the Oregon State Beavers take on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Davey in his 4th year as the head coach of Notre Dame took over for Lou Holtz. They're serving as Lou's defensive coordinator. John Smith is the referee. Officiating crew, neutral officials. Oregon State won the toss. You saw the signal from John Smith that they deferred. And the Fighting Irish will take the ball to begin the game. Dennis Erickson in his 2nd season ended that streak of 28 straight losing seasons last year when he went 7-5 in his first year in Corvallis. Took them to the Oahu Bowl. They lost there in an upset to Hawaii. He said, last year we were just happy to be there. It was like a vacation, and we got ambushed by a team we thought we were better than. That's not the case this time around. This is a business trip. They have a point to prove that they have arrived and have really changed this program around entirely. And very interesting last night that Dennis Erickson took his top 60 players and took them to another hotel away from the team hotel. There was a lot of partying going on. He took those guys, sequestered them. Not even the staff of Oregon State knew where that hotel was. They're very serious and learned that lesson last year in Hawaii. Notre Dame and Oregon State ready to go. The Fighting Irish at 9-2, making their 3rd appearance in the Fiesta Bowl. And of course they have great memories of 1988 here, when they defeated West Virginia to win the national title. They lost to Colorado here in 1994, and Oregon State in its first New Year's Day bowl game since 1965, when they played in the Rose Bowl and lost 34-7 to Michigan. Their only other bowl game since then, the trip to Hawaii last year. Brian Seska will kick off. And I think that Oregon State got exactly what they wanted, winning the toss, being able to defer to the second half. A very fast, aggressive defense Dennis Erickson puts on the field. Craig Bray, his defensive coordinator, says we don't really get tied up in a lot of assignments. We tell them where to be, but then we let them run around. A lot of tackles for loss for this Oregon State defense. They will get in Notre Dame's backfield. Another strength of this Notre Dame team, perhaps the strength of the team, special teams. They've been great in virtually every game this season. Julius Jones, a very dangerous return man. He brought one back 100 yards for a touchdown against Nebraska. Over the course of the season in kickoff returns and punt returns, Notre Dame has a 533-yard advantage over their opponents. That's almost 50 yards per game of field position created by the return teams. Seska, the sophomore from Manhattan Beach, California. Well, an excellent kick. Very little wind in the stadium tonight. And will be down by Julius Jones about 6 yards deep in the end zone. The Fighting Irish on offense, directed by the poised 18-year-old freshman from Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, Matt Lavecchio. 58% completion percentage, the 4th best single season in Notre Dame history. He's thrown only 1 interception in 30 quarters of play this year. Set an all-time Notre Dame record for interceptions as compared to attempts, and there's been a couple of pretty good signal callers that he broke their records at Notre Dame. Tony Fisher opens at tailback after Jones was in for the kickoff. He's not in for the first play from scrimmage. It's Fisher. Out to the 29 for a gain of 9. Terrence Carroll made the tackle, the strong safety. Now the Tostitos starting lineups for Notre Dame up front. Those 5 men have started every game along the offensive line this season. Mike Gandy was a 3rd-team All-American this year. Jason Murray alternates with Tom Lopinski at fullback. Javen Hunter, a big play threat. Joey Getherall is their 2nd leading receiver, and O'Leary a fine tight end. Fisher again, stopped by Ryan Atkinson, the right defensive tackle, part of the 4-man front for Oregon State. The strength, the defensive ends, DeLawrence Grant and Ladarius Jackson. Teams have a tough time getting outside on them. Richard Sigler is their 2nd leading tackler on the team. James Allen back from injury problems. Darnell Robinson a captain. And outstanding corners with Hayward, Johnson, and Weathersby. Carlisle and Carroll are the safeties. Still Fisher at tailback on 3rd and short. He took the pitch from Lavecchio and did not get the first down. Needed the 30, got to the 29.5 where James Allen took him down, the junior from Portland. So 9 yards on the first play from scrimmage, but then less than a yard on the next 2.
And it looks to me like Oregon State has learned their lesson against the University of Washington, another option-type team. They didn't make Marcus Tuiasosopo pitch the ball very quickly. That time, Ladarius Jackson, the defensive end, right in the face of Lavecchio to make him pitch it right now. Get good pursuit from the inside out. You got to play discipline against that option. Let him go! Let him go!
Hillbold handled a high snap. TJ Hushmanzada. The return man, there are flags down as Hushmanzada goes down near the 37-yard line. Tackled by Tony Driver, 37-yard punt and a 4-yard return. Now, there was a flag thrown near where Hushmanzada was tackled.
What a nice start to the game for Oregon State. The one thing Notre Dame wants to do on offense is shorten the game by running the ball and getting some first downs. The illegal block in the back is the call on Oregon State. But a good job 3 and out for Dennis Erickson's defense to get this big play offense out on the field.
The field position won't be quite as good.
Doing the return. Illegal block in the back above the waist. Return team. 10 yards from the spot on the ball, which is the end of the run. First down.
And they'll move the ball back to the 26-yard line. That's where Oregon State goes on offense for the first time, led by Jonathan Smith, the junior from Glendora, California. 18-8 as the starting quarterback with 4 games of 300 yards plus this season and set the single-season passing mark last year, making a record held by Eric Wilhelm.
And he was a guy who was not recruited. He was an invited walk-on by Mike Riley before he left for San Diego, and he said, I wouldn't have recruited myself either. Only 5'9".
They open in a 2 tight end set. He swings it out to Chad Johnson. Of their big play threats, and they have several outside. He's the big playmaker, averaging just under 22 yards per reception. That one good for 7. Here's the offensive line. Chris Gibson, first team all Pac-10 at center. Sykes and Cornell, the guards. White and Sandoval are the tackles. Maurer, an excellent pass receiving tight end, and the 3 wide receivers of whom Ed spoke earlier. All 3 with big play potential. 2nd and 3. Hit behind the line, but bounced off the hit of Tony Driver and might have picked up a first down just across the 36-yard line. There's that bowling ball strength of Simonton we talked about. These guys will be trying to bring him down. Weaver and Legree, the stars up front. Scott and Roberts do a lot of the dirty work. Anthony Denman voted the team MVP by his teammates Rocky Boyman and Tario Harrison, the other linebackers. And in the secondary, Driver back in the secondary after a couple of stints in the offensive backfield. Williams and Jefferson get the start at the corners. We'll see a lot of Shane Walton and Ron Israel is the strong safety. Smith throws low, but a good catch made by Hushmanzada. And it appears he has another first down at the 48-yard line. It is on a gain of 11 on the completion to the senior from Barstow, California.
And right now you can see Notre Dame is getting these safeties up close to the line of scrimmage. Both Israel and Driver were within 8 yards of the line of scrimmage. And Oregon State running the out route, easy pickings, but I think Notre Dame is afraid of Ken Simonton. They've got these guys tied up to the line of scrimmage.
And they're showing blitz. Simonton got by the blitzer off the corner, but couldn't get out of the backfield as Tario Harrison took him down. There is a flag down thrown right at the line of scrimmage by the official on the near sideline.
Not sure if Brock Williams on the blitz might have gone into the neutral zone.
Uncharacteristic of this Notre Dame team. Big part of their success, they play virtually mistake-free football.
Against the defense. 5 yards remains, first down.
We'll take a look at the Dell Game Solutions when Oregon State is on offense, and we've already seen what Bob Davie, who took over kind of the play calling on the defensive side of the ball this year. Max protect, bring some people in when they show the blitz, make every series count. No 3 and out because Notre Dame's trying to shorten the game, and on defense, bail out, get down in there and bait Smith into making the max protection and bail out and play some zone coverage behind him.
Play action fake to Simonton. You'll see a lot of that, and a nice catch made on the ball thrown inaccurately by Smith behind Hushmanzada. But he made a nice catch, and he thought he got roughed up after the catch at the 35-yard line of Notre Dame. It's another first down and a gain of 12.
One thing you have to do when you come into a program that's been down for this long is take some chances on some junior college players. TJ Hushmanzada played at Cerritos Junior College. Dennis Erickson went and recruited him. Big physical guy, 6'2", 211 pounds. Good job of fighting for the ball there.
He was bothered by back problems last year in his first year out of junior college and had just 24 catches, but this year 42 prior to tonight. And a couple already. Simonton found a crease in the middle, made his way to the 30 to pick up a 5. Tario Harrison and Rocky Boyman combining on the stop.
You know, Sean, one of the major changes that was made this year by Bob Davie, I mentioned that he took over the defensive calling for he went back to his roots as a defensive coordinator, spent so long at Texas A&M and at Notre Dame, and he figured, you know, if my job's on the line, I'm going to take some control of my destiny. And you've already seen a difference in Notre Dame, how much more aggressive they've got. They've brought 2 corner blitzes on this drive already.
Fake again by Smith, and he threw it a bit too hard for Robert Prescott to handle. 2nd down and 5. One of the things Dennis Erickson talked about and his coaching staff, and we visited with them prior to the game, the importance of getting ahead. He said one of the reasons Notre Dame's been able to play so conservatively and power football all years, they haven't been behind almost at all.
I went back and looked through their games. The biggest margin they were behind was against Nebraska. They were down by 14. That lasted for all of 17 seconds because Julius Jones took the next kickoff back 100 yards. So they have not been behind, and this is a nice opening drive for Oregon State.
Smith a little bit off target, but his receivers are helping him. It's Hushmanzada again with an acrobatic catch on a low throw. 3rd catch for Hushmanzada already, and a first down to the 22-yard line.
This was the one thing when we talked to Tim Lopano, the offensive coordinator for Dennis Erickson, the very first receiver, although Chad Johnson, excellent job by Hushmanzada getting the hand under, but he pointed this guy out. He is mistake-free football player. He runs great routes. That's Dan Cazzetto leading in there, the running backs coach, trying to get an eye on what Notre Dame is doing. But TJ Hushmanzada just very disciplined in his route running. A great catch there.
Aggressive drive by the Beavers. Simon powering his way down to the 19. Pulled down by Andy Wisney, a reserve defensive tackle, who's in on this first drive. That front 4 being tested already by this Oregon State offense. So Wisney's in, the senior from Tulsa, Oklahoma, whose brother Jerry was a starting offensive lineman for the Irish in 1998.
In my time with Dennis Erickson, I spent a year with the Seattle Seahawks, played in this exact system. And this is the type of drive he is legendary for. Mix things up and keep the defense guessing. Run, pass, you have no idea.
They played the drive, the fake to Simonton, and they had an idea that time. Boyman on the blitz, buried Smith back at the 26-yard line.
But once again, Sean, it's the risky defense that Bob Davie has been calling all year. This is a safety blitz. Safety comes down. Tony Driver finds himself a seam. Boyman, the offensive line, has to get down inside to pick up that safety blitz. Boyman comes on the outside. They don't have a man to block him. Good job of Bob Davie. You call the blitz, you've got to outnumber the offense.
Rocky Boyman, junior from Cincinnati, arguably the most popular Notre Dame player with the home fans in South Bend. Big sack, 4.5 of the year now. On 3rd down, flag stopped the play. They had moved to the 19-yard line, had the Beavers.
Dead ball, false start, offense, 5 yards, remains, 3rd down.
They have retreated back to the 30.
3rd and 18 at the 30.
Dennis Erickson nearly left this Beaver program after just 2 years. He was wooed by USC with a lot more money than he's being paid at Oregon State. And he said he just couldn't face the players and leave. He said, I was at Wyoming for a year, Washington State for just 2 years. I know how hard it was to leave those players so abruptly, and I just could not do it again. And the new 7-year deal at Oregon State probably didn't hurt him. Patrick McCall in at running back. Smith had all kinds of room to run. He dumped it off instead to McCall. And he's short of a first down at the 15-yard line. Short by 3 yards. He'll bring up 4th and 3. Ron Israel and Jason Beckstrom combined on the tackle, and Dennis Erickson has his field goal unit on.
You know, Sean, going back to Dennis Erickson, when he left Washington State University back in 1989, he's still upset about making that move. It's something that he says, you know, you go up that ladder in your professional career. He is still upset that he left those people at Washington State 11 years ago.
Ryan Seska, an excellent season, a little shaky in the last game against Oregon, which the Beavers won to earn this trip. And he bangs that one through from 32 yards. So Erickson has the lead he wanted, but not as many points as he would have liked on that promising opening drive.
Spanish commentary for this game.
The scholarship funds of each of the universities represented in the Bowl Championship Series.
Looks like they already made a contribution of a bunch of cups and water bottles.
Ryan Seska will kick off. 32-yard field goal, which has given the Beavers a 3-0 lead. 7:27 left in the first quarter. His first kickoff went about 6 yards deep in the end zone, and Julius Jones downed it. Julius is back deep again, standing at the 5-yard line. Returnable this time for Jones. And he brings it back to the 24-yard line. James Newsom made the tackle.
Sean, we'll take a look at the Dell game solutions for Notre Dame on offense. Keep it between the tackles. The strength of this offensive line is the guards and centers. Jim Jones, the left guard. Mike Gandy, the right guard All-American. And Jeff Fain, a sophomore. Fantastic center. And the speed of Oregon State, too good on the edges. Get into the third quarter. Let that offensive line start to take over. For Oregon State on defense, in the middle of their defensive line, their defensive tackles, undersized at 275, need to drop an anchor, try to take up 2 guys, and let Richard Siegler, the middle linebacker, run free.
Vecchio out of the shotgun, throws, incomplete, into double coverage and a late flag thrown. David Givens was bumped. Dennis Weathersby had the tightest coverage. The first team all Pac-10 cornerback. And he's going to be called for pass interference.
There's no question that Weathersby bumped the receiver early, but my question, Sean, was that a catchable football? Dennis Erickson's face tells you he didn't think it was.
Against the defense. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
It's interesting that it was a pass attempt. Notre Dame ran running plays in the last 24 plays of their win against USC, the regular season finale, and 3 running plays to start tonight. But finally a pass. And what'd you think after the replay?
Well, that ball was thrown to the outside, but Weathersby knocked David Givens flat with a forearm. There's no way you cannot let that slide.
Well, then Coach Erickson agrees with you. The ball was not catchable. Empty backfield now and 5 wide receivers. And Vecchio runs out of that formation to the 43-yard line. That's a gain of 4. James Allen made the tackle. A capacity crowd on hand. The Arizona Republic, the local newspaper, said this was the toughest Tostitos Fiesta Bowl ticket in 15 years. And hard to argue with the traffic we've seen along the streets of Tempe. A lot of folks looking for tickets, most of them wearing the orange T-shirts and sweatshirts of the Beavers of Oregon State.
There was a question how well Oregon State would travel. I think they put an exclamation point on the answer to that question.
The handoff to Julius Jones. He's knocked down again by James Allen. What a quarter Allen is having. He was inactive the first 3 games of the year. He had a right hip injury and a back problem they could not diagnose. They took x-rays, didn't find anything. He was in a lot of pain. It kept getting worse. Finally, Dennis Erickson suggested acupuncture. It had worked for a relative. Allen tried it after 4 or 5 treatments. The pain was completely gone, and He's a believer, although he was a little bit squeamish when he first went for the acupuncture.
And he went back after the season to get himself right. Went back for 2 more sessions with the acupuncturist he found in Portland. Said he is feeling as good as he's felt in 2 years.
3rd and 3, and Jones is buried in the backfield by Allen. He stuck the pins and needles in Jones about 7 yards deep in the backfield.
You know, when the game's over, because of this hit, James Allen might want to go to Julius Jones and give him the business card of the acupuncturist that he's seen, because Julius is going to feel this one. When you talk to the defensive players, just a straight blitz. Great read by James Allen. You know, Sean, though, I don't know that that's a blitz. They're allowed. It looked like Julius may have fumbled that. They allow these linebackers to run free like that all the time.
Joey Hilbold, the punter. Good punt. Bushman-Zala driven back near the 15-yard line. Fumble! Recovered by the Beavers and advanced out to the 38-yard line. Newsom recovered the fumble. James Allen and the Beavers off to a great start in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Stadium on the campus of Arizona State University. Tostitos Fiesta Bowl with Oregon State leading 3-0 over Notre Dame in the first quarter. Ken Simonton on 1st and 10 from the 38. Runs out to the 43-yard line where he was tackled by Anthony Denman and Rocky Boyman. It was Boyman who caused the fumble a moment ago on the punt return by Bushman-Zala, but fortunately for the Beavers, Newsom was in the right spot.
One of the things Dennis Erickson pointed out, one of the key moments in the season that he thought things were going to turn around was against UCLA when Martin Maurer, the tight end, tipped a ball he should have caught. Robert Prescott caught it and went 50 yards for a touchdown. The ball just seems to bounce your way when you start to turn things around in your program.
And they have turned it around, their first ever 10-win season. Pass incomplete. Chad Johnson couldn't make the sliding catch with Jason Beckstrom covering. The state of Oregon, the football power out west now. The Oregon Ducks with their win in the Holiday Bowl with their first 10-win season ever, and the Beavers have already had their first 10-win season.
You add up Washington, the University of Washington beats Purdue today in the Rose Bowl. Oregon beat Texas. The power in the Pac-10 has moved to the northwest corner of the country, and Dennis Erickson, one of the reasons he stayed at Oregon State was because he said there's a lot of kids in that Southern California area that are ready to get out of the inner city, and they're starting to come up north to live in a small town environment.
3rd down and 5. Out of the shotgun, Smith, a high throw, very close to the first down. Bushman-Zala fighting for every inch, and it appears he has the first down with his 4th catch. And boy, are these receivers doing a great job for Smith, who's been a little scattershot. And then when you look at the numbers, just 49% completion percentage for Smith. So as Tim Lopano, the offensive coordinator, said, he'll throw one throw that has you wondering, wow, that was awful, and then he'll throw a bullet on the very next throw.
It reminds me a lot of Dave Craig, who spent a lot of time in the Seattle Seahawks. A smaller guy, Dave, with small hands, would go out one game and look like an all-pro, maybe the best who ever played it. The next game, he'd go out and break your heart. Dennis Erickson spent time with the Seattle Seahawks, and Dave Craig was gone for a long time when Dennis got there, but that's who Jonathan Smith reminds me of.
Smith, another play-action fake, finds his man, Marty Maurer, the big tight end, down to the 30-yard line. 22-yard gain on the 34th catch of the season by Maurer, the senior from Jacksonville, Oregon. The veteran making his 22nd straight start tonight. He was honorable mention All Pac-10 this year.
This is why this offense is absolutely the most difficult offense you can try to defend. It's not only because they try all these different things, it's because they have the players to make them happen. Not only do you have to get ready for Ken Simonton, a solid offensive line, 3 great receivers, now you have one of the best pass-catching tight ends in the country to add into the mix.
Back on the ground with Simonton. Nice moves and spins to get 3 or 4 extra yards. Clifford Jefferson chopped him down. Nice lead blocking on the play by Jared Cornell, number 75.
You know, when you look at Ken Simonton and you meet him for the first time, they list him at 5'8", 194. I don't know if he's quite that big, but he has incredibly strong lower body strength, and he's able to run through the tackles. Believe it or not, he thinks he can get stronger. He's going to spend the offseason getting himself ready for his senior year. 3 1,000-plus yard rushing seasons for a guy that small. Very, very durable for a guy his size.
Down in 3. McCall gives Simonton a breather. They fake the reverse. McCall was wide open. open with lots of running room and dropped the ball. Again, not a great throw, but one that could have been caught by McCall.
Jonathan Smith has to get himself settled down. It's a big stage, the biggest he's ever played on. He's throwing the ball too hard. He's not putting any touch. That ball has to be a touch, because when it's behind a receiver who's on the run in the flat, there's no way he's going to be able to get his shoulders around to catch it. Smith just needs to settle down. But you already mentioned it, Sean. The other guys on this Oregon State offense, they came to play tonight.
Third down and 3. Simonton back in. Tied up by Tario Harrison, short of the first down. Needed to get to the 20. Got just inside the 21. Glenn Earl came in to assist Harrison on the stop.
And if there's any place that this Oregon State offense might have a bit of a weakness, it is on short yardage, because they don't have a true fullback. So you're going to see 2 tight ends come in. They're going to go with what Dennis likes to call his heavy set. But when you don't have a true fullback, it's tough to get a lead blocker. But with this offensive line, your best player, the center, all Pac-10, possibly a quarterback sneak.
Going for it on 4th and less than a yard. Simonton has the first down. Needed to reach the 20. He got across the 20.
And here is where Ken Simonton. You know, I sat down with him a couple weeks ago up at Oregon State, and I mentioned the fact that he is a legitimate Heisman candidate going into next year. He kind of sloughs that off a little bit, but this is a very special back. Notre Dame had guys in the backfield on that play. It looked like it was dead to rights. He makes a little tiny move, and you're just not going to bring him down with an arm tackle. Notre Dame has to get 2 or 3 guys around this guy, grab his jersey, and try to get around his waist to get him down.
Drive for Oregon State. This is the 9th play on 1st and 10 from the 19. Simonton showing his strength. Hit at the line, but moved ahead for 4 before Tario Harrison took him down. Down to a minute and a half left in the first quarter. A quarter controlled by the favored Beavers of Oregon State.
One thing that coaches always talk about, whether you're pass blocking, catching passes, running the ball, is finishing the play. And Ken Simonton finishes every single run that he has. With Tario Harrison draped around his ankles, this little guy dives out for another 2 yards. Incredible determination. He finishes the play.
6. Simonton, a nice cutback move. Coaches also talk about his great vision, and he saw the opening and cut back to his left. Short of a first down by about a yard. ABC Sports is the home of the Bowl Championship Series on Wednesday night. Josh Heupel and undefeated Oklahoma battle Florida State, led by Heisman Trophy winner Chris Weinke. The #1 Sooners and the #2 Seminoles for the national championship in the FedEx Orange Bowl, January 3rd, live at 8 Eastern, right here on ABC. And the Bowl Championship Series off and running at the Rose Bowl early tonight. Nothing doing from a call on 3rd down and 1. He lost yardage. Anthony Denman and Ryan Roberts coming up big for Bob Davie on what might be the last play of the first quarter.
And Jonathan Smith made a mistake there. One of the main responsibilities he has is getting out of bad plays. There was 9 Irish in the box around defending the run. He should have checked out of it, gone to something to the other side of the formation. The Irish had the Beavers outnumbered.
And Ryan Seska will try the field goal at the other end, as that's the end of the first quarter. With Oregon State leading Notre Dame 3-0. ABC Sports presentation of the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl will return after this message and word from our ABC stations. Second quarter. Oregon State leads Notre Dame 6-0. Sean McDonough with Ed Cunningham and Leslie Goodell.
But the one thing, Sean, that Notre Dame has been able to do all year, we mentioned at the beginning, is not fall behind. Great offensive production for Oregon State early, 110 yards, and they only have 6 points to show. Somehow they find a way to hang in there. They made some good plays with linebacker blitzes, negative yardage play, and force Oregon State on great drives to kick field goals.
Fighting Irish have a lot of tricks up their sleeve on special teams. This might be the time to try one. Oregon State dominating the first quarter, plus 5 seconds here in the second quarter. Short kickoff. And out of bounds. Seska's kick out of bounds along the far sideline, so Notre Dame will begin with excellent field position.
And Seska trying to kick it to an angle. The angle of the field, one thing you can do with a dangerous return team is get it over to the sideline.
Kicking team, out of bounds. Receive team, selected out. Snap the ball at 35-yard line, 1st and 10.
The thing you can try to do is get it over the boundary, and that gives you that extra defensive player, which is the sideline. But that time Seska missed the ball.
Total yardage in the first quarter, 110 yards for Oregon State, 8 yards of offense for Notre Dame. But they're fortunate that Oregon State has kicked just the 2 field goals. And the quarterback Smith been more accurate. It could be 14-0 perhaps. Julius Jones threw a big hole in a 12-yard run for a first down. Jake Cookus, the reserve safety, made the tackle.
Sean, as I watched the film of Notre Dame, the one thing that jumped out was the middle 3 on this offensive line. Right guard Mike Gandy, the center, a first-year starter in Jeff Fain. Got great push up the middle. And right now you have Sean Mahan playing in at left guard for Jim Jones, but that was just an excellent job. And since Matt LaVecchio has taken over, look at how the rushing offense has skyrocketed.
On first down, it's Jones across the 50 to the 49, perhaps the 48 of the Beavers. A 5-yard gain. Richard Siegler and Terrence Carroll made the tackle. Carroll was second-team All-Pac-10 this season. He's a 4-year starter. Dennis Erickson says he's one of the best safeties I've ever coached. And you think back to Miami and some of the other places Dennis has been, that covers a lot of ground.
And what a nice option to have with that safety. A former linebacker had to play some linebacker this year. Get him up around the line of scrimmage against this Irish running.
Flags stop the action.
Dead ball, false start, gets the offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
Jeff Fain, the center for Bob Davie in his first year as a starter. They list him as a sophomore. Notre Dame doesn't call him redshirt freshman, didn't play last year. Has the opportunity to be the first 4-year starter at Notre Dame on the offensive line. And this is a special player, Sean. He's short, 6'2", 290 pounds with long arms, plays with incredible leverage. He keeps his pads down. Watch when he fires off the ball, his pads don't come up at all. Great leverage player.
He was a highly recruited player, first-team All-American in high school. He went for the screen to David Gibbons. The quick screen, the ball was knocked away. Darnell Robinson had the coverage in a lot of traffic. And the Irish fortunate that on the carom, that one didn't get picked off.
This is the spot where Notre Dame, 3rd and 10, goes to a part of their offense that, although it's in, Kevin Rogers, the offensive coordinator, came from Syracuse, worked with Donovan McNabb up there. He has this down, but Matt LaVecchio has been working on 3rd and short all season long. They improved by 10% over last year on 3rd down conversion, but that's because it was 3rd and short, not 3rd and 10.
3rd and 10 now. LaVecchio ran away from the heat, throws on the run, incomplete. He threw that one into traffic in the direction of Javen Hunter, but Terrence Carroll was nearest to the throw after Ladarius Jackson chased LaVecchio to the far side of the field.
Notre Dame has only given up 8 turnovers all year. Matt LaVecchio has only thrown 1 interception. The way that you can make an offense turn the ball over is get in their backfield. That time Ladarius Jackson chasing Matt LaVecchio around. He's running for his life, throwing on the run, and Terrence Carroll was reading his eyes the whole way.
8 turnovers for Notre Dame, an NCAA record low over an 11-game schedule.
Let him go!
Amazingly low number. Hilbold with the punt. Pushman Zada the fair catch at the 11-yard line. A 43-yard punt. In the second quarter, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Oregon State leads Notre Dame 6-0.
Beavers 1st and 10.
Oregon State defender, all 4 fingers bend back, Sean, and when he goes to drop that ball in his next punt, I wouldn't be surprised if he has trouble dropping it and catching the snap.
On 1st and 10, Smith airing it out in the one-on-one coverage, and it's incomplete for Chad Johnson, and a flag thrown. Clifford Jefferson at very tight coverage.
The first shot that Oregon State takes down the field, who would be surprised that it's Chad Johnson, the big play receiver. Bob Davie arguing that his defender had great position, which he did. The question is, how much did he bump Chad Johnson as they went up to the ball?
Pass interference against the defense. 15 yards assessed from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
And I have a feeling that Bob Davie was not telling that official Happy New Year. Let's watch Clifford Jefferson. No question about it. He's into his body. In college football now, you don't have to look back to the ball. There is no such thing as face guarding in college football. However, it was the contact that Clifford Jefferson made before the ball got there. And I think Bob Davie, although upset, will look at the film and realize that was the proper call.
Of course, the difference from the NFL rules, just 15 yards from the line of scrimmage on that pass interference play. So the ball comes out to the 27-yard line.
And Clifford Jefferson in there. Shane Walton, who's the usual starter, broke his forearm against Rutgers. And Bob Davie, although Shane Walton's ready to play, a little concerned about the tackling of Shane Walton. He hasn't tackled anybody since the middle of November.
Patrick McCall, the lone back. He takes the handoff. Immediately a flag thrown for holding. It's just a coincidence, but it seems like those holding calls come more often after one coach really airs out the officials. Undoubtedly, there was holding on the play, negating a gain of about 7 yards by McCall. We talk about the three tailbacks for Notre Dame. Well, McCall is more than just a stand-in for Simonton. He rushed for 633 yards.
Holding against the offense. 10 yards assessed from the previous spot. Remains first down.
Matter of fact, Dennis Erickson says McCall and Simonton are the best 1-2 punch in reverse order in college football. Here's Wesley Goodell.
John, such a big part of this Notre Dame defense is a young man standing with me, Grant Irons. He went down with a dislocated shoulder in the second game of the season, but he's been very much a part of this team the entire year. Is it hard for you to stand here and watch these guys and not be out there with them?
It's difficult, you know, but it's exciting at the same time. You know, seeing my teammates out here playing with everything they have, you know, I'm very excited for my teammates. They're doing a great job tonight.
Some of the guys said that a speech you gave after the Michigan State loss inspired them to the 7 wins to end the season. Did you say anything to them before this game?
I just told them to focus on the game plan at hand, you know, play together as one team, and just have fun out there. This is a big-time game and a big-time atmosphere environment, and just told them to have fun, play together, and represent the University of Notre Dame.
Great. Thanks a lot, Graham.
Thank you.
All right, Leslie, the good news for the Irish and their fans, Irons will be back in all likelihood next year for a 5th year. And while they were chatting, the quick pass to Prescott got the Beavers out to the 34-yard line, a gain of 16. 98 zip in the air. Advantage for Oregon State. And they'll add to that total. Marty Maurer rumbling along the sideline and then back toward the middle of the field all the way to the Fighting Irish 37-yard line where Rocky Boyman made the tackle. Big play, 29 yards on the catch and run by Maurer, whose dad Andy played tight end at Oregon and then played 10 years in the NFL for 4 different teams as an offensive guard.
Brock Williams is going to come on a cornerback blitz and makes a mistake. Doesn't stay as deep as the ball. You have to stay as deep as the football and watch the fake of Jonathan Smith. And now that cornerback has voided the area. The safety can't come down. It's a huge hole on that side of the field for Maurer.
On 1st and 10. McCall gets to the 35-yard line. Tony Driver made the tackle. Tomorrow night, the Bowl Championship Series continues on ABC. Santana Moss, boy, can he fly. And the Miami Hurricanes battling Rex Grossman, Alex Brown, and the Florida Gators in the Nokia Sugar Bowl. Live at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC. Home of the Bowl Championship Series.
Festivities started early there. They got in a little shouting match, they said. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but apparently Alex Walls, words were hurting. Alex Brown had that swollen eye after the apparent verbal exchange.
This pass a little bit too high for Hushmanzada. And it'll be 3rd down and 8 for the Beavers, and I think the Beaver fans have to be a little uneasy. The Oregon State team dominating this game, but it's still just 6-0.
Yeah, you don't want to let a team that can run the ball like Notre Dame hang in like they're hanging in. And Jonathan Smith You know, Tim Lopano, the offensive coordinator, adjusted this offense a little bit during the offseason for him. Got him running out of the pocket. We've already seen that. The play action pass, a shorter guy at 5'9", get him away from the line of scrimmage, but he just needs to settle himself down. He's usually not this ineffective.
Empty backfield. Down the hash marks. Nice catch. Marty Maurer, the tight end again. Down near the 5-yard line. Here the linebacker Anthony Denman in coverage. And that time to give Smith his due, a perfect throw because Denman wasn't that far off. A 30-yard gain.
And also a perfect push-off by Marty Maurer, the tight end. Anthony Denman is used to dropping. His first 2 years, he played drop linebacker, but the left arm of Marty Maurer, no question, got himself a little separation. And there's Anthony Denman fighting for the call that he did not get.
Mentioned Marty's dad, Andy, played in the NFL. He was also Marty's high school coach at Cascade Christian in the state of Oregon. Simonton back in. And he made his way to the 2-yard line. It'll be 2nd and goal. From the 2, Andy Wisney made the tackle with help from Tony Driver. Darren Nelson, the great Stanford back, went on the NFL, the only other freshman ever to rush for 1,000 yards in the Pac-10. But when you think Simonton next year, in all likelihood, will be the first man to do it 4 years in a row. So many great backs over the history of the Pac-10. That's amazing.
That was an outside chance at Charles White's all-time leading rushing record, but he'll have to get over 2,000 yards next year to break it in the Pac-10 conference.
On 2nd and goal, Simonton again to the goal line, but not in. Rocky Boyman on his back. Ron Israel, the strong safety, also in on the tackle.
Sean, this is a point where Oregon State needs to punch this one in. They're at the half-foot line, and I would imagine that this is 4th down territory for Dennis Erickson. He is tired of patting Ryan Sussman on the backside to send him in to kick field goals.
He wants to get Notre Dame behind right now. Notre Dame's not far enough behind to try to get out of character on offense. 3rd and goal from inside the 1. Simonton. The ball never got to the goal line. His helmet might have, but the ball was being pulled away behind him. Ryan Roberts tried to get it out and could not. And this is 4th and goal from inside the 1, and as Ed anticipated, it is 4 down territory. They're going for it.
And this is not a place where Dennis Erickson had to make much of a decision. He takes Simonton out and he brings in Patrick McCall as his running back. But Sean, if I've got Jonathan Smith, who's pretty decent on the edge, play action fake rollout, you got twins over to the left, give him a couple of run pass options.
2 tight ends, the pitch to McCall, and that was a curious call. They needed a foot, they run wide, and Ron Israel came up from his safety position and dropped McCall back at the 5-yard line.
You had twins to your left, and Ron Israel, who plays strong safety, is over on the weak side of the formation. There is no way that Oregon State can get a body on Ron Israel. Again, Jonathan Smith needs to count the defensive players on that side of the ball and get out of that play. He's got to take advantage of the numbers. That time, Notre Dame had Oregon State outnumbered.
The Irish needed a momentum turner. Perhaps they just got it.
Inside the 1, they ran a toss sweep. I said,
coordinator told us, he said Jonathan Smith's only job at the line of scrimmage is to get us out of a bad play. And that was one that looked like it had no chance from the start with that defensive alignment. Terrence Howard, the 3rd tailback, trying to get them some breathing room. Made it from the 5 out near the 9-yard line. Howard's a junior from Willingboro, New Jersey. His best game this season, 96 yards against West Virginia, which included an 80-yard touchdown run, the longest ever against West Virginia at Mountaineer Field.
You know, most teams that run multiple back sets have 2 different type runners. The Irish actually have 3. You have Julius Jones, who's the little shifty guy. You have Tony Fisher, who's the pounder, and Terrence Howard is the slasher.
Here's Howard again. Nice slashing move inside. And he has a 1st down out to the 17-yard line. James Allen, another tackle. Mike Gandy was the blocker leading the way for Howard.
Mike Gandy, the right guard, a 3rd-team All-American this year, does an excellent job. 320 pounds, pulling out on the linebacker. Robinson gets down on his legs. A good read by Howard. But the middle of this offensive line, if Oregon State allows this team to continue to hang around, big fellas like this are going to start to move around the undersized Oregon State defense.
Mike Gandy, a third-team All-American by the Sporting News this year. Howard buried that time by Eric Manning. Back, Lipinski, the fullback. LaVecchio with his first completion to Dan O'Leary, the tight end. He got hammered out of bounds at the 41-yard line. But it's a first down for Notre Dame, a pickup of 26.
That time, Dan O'Leary is supposed to be covered by the strong safety, Jake Kukas. And he slips. That is why O'Leary's so wide open. A senior playing in his last ball game. O'Leary trying to make the most of it, but it was just a slip in the defensive backfield by Jake Kukas, who was supposed to be in one-on-one coverage on O'Leary.
O'Leary had been splitting the time at tight end with Jabari Holloway, but Holloway has a sprained knee and is not playing tonight. That's a big blow to Notre Dame. Julius Jones out to the 44. A gain of 3.
Sean, you mentioned at the outset of the game that the defensive ends for Oregon State are really the key to this defense. DeLawrence Grant that time making the tackle, and his line mate on the other side, Ladarius Jackson. These two guys have been together now for 4 years. They spent 2 years together at Camino Community College. And DeLawrence Grant had already committed to Oregon State. It looked like Ladarius Jackson was going to go to Kansas State University. Came up to visit, and Dennis Erickson talked him into just going ahead and packing his bags and moving north.
Flag down. It looked like Oregon State was offside. And that's a good thing for the Irish, as Jones is dropped for a loss. Darius Jackson in there again. It looked like Charles O'Neill was offside.
And this is one thing Dennis Erickson will allow his defense to take some chances on the snap count. If you ever remember those defenses he ran at Miami, it all started with an upfield rush of his defensive line. And sometimes those guys are going to jump into the neutral zone before the snap.
Offsides against the defense, 5 yards from the previous spot. Remains second down.
Time for the AT&T team comparison, and Notre Dame might want to hang up on this call.
They have not had many chances on offense. Only run 15 plays with 6:37 left in the second quarter, but they've got a little something going now. This is more their speed, 2nd and 1.
Jones on the delay, and he never got started. DeLawrence Grant again. Loss of 4.
I don't think there's any question that both of these defensive ends will end up putting their hand on the ground on Sundays next year for pay. But DeLawrence Grant, who had a monster junior season, only 6 sacks this year. He was outshone by the guy on the other side, Jackson, but it was because this guy who had such a great junior year started getting double teamed, and his former junior college teammate decided to step his game up.
Great speed on this Oregon State defense. 3rd down and 6. LaVecchio flushed from the pocket. A flag thrown in the offensive backfield as LaVecchio throws it away. Looked like Jordan Black might have put a hold on Ladarius Jackson.
Well, there's no question, Sean, that it was Jordan Black, and a great power rush by Jackson that time. And Black just had to hold him as Matt LaVecchio tried to get outside that rush and break contain.
Holding against the offense. That 10-yard penalty has been declined. 4th down.
Black, the junior from Rowlett, Texas. He started every game in which he has appeared at Notre Dame. All 21 with his appearance tonight. Missed 3 games last year with a torn MCL on his right knee. Has made a nice comeback this year. Joey Hilbold will punt. Jay Hushmanzada back deep. Another good punt by Hilbold. Sophomore from Centerville, Virginia. Big gap for Hushmanzada. Flag down back at the 20. Hushmanzada finally tackled at the 43, but where that flag was thrown, you'd expect this one to come back a long way. A 43-yard punt, a 31-yard return. Terrence Howard made the tackle, but the flag is way back at the 20.
One thing Joey Hildbold, who started as a true freshman in every game as the punter for Notre Dame, saw earlier, he injured that right hand. He worked on his drop point of his, when he drops the punt, he lowered it and a complete foot, and what that does, it takes a little distance off the kick, but it gets it higher in the air. That time Hildbold outkicked his coverage just a little bit, though.
He didn't work on that tonight as a result. He'd been working on that before.
Give away too much free food.
We'll do a great job. This is a bowl that has a great reputation for being exceptionally well run, and it's lived up to that reputation this year. Long pass for Hushmanzada, incomplete. Brock Williams had the coverage. The one thing that certainly helped the defense for Notre Dame this year, the return of Brock Williams. He sat out all of last year for violating university rules, and Tony Driver went back to the defense. Last year he was a tailback, and that's half of your defensive secondary.
And really the reason it was so key is that Brock Williams gives you a guy who you can put out in one-on-one coverage and just leave him out there. Bob Davie got very aggressive with his calling this year and told these guys, hey, listen, we're going to hang you out to dry, just like Brock Williams is right now.
2nd and 10. Smith on target that time to Hushmanzada. 5 catches for TJ Hushmanzada. Clifford Johnson made the tackle, but not before TJ picked up a first down out at the 24-yard line. It's a good idea, Ed, a good thing that we practice pronouncing TJ's last name, because we've needed it a lot tonight. We'll see if he's a part of tonight's Aflac trivia question. Who holds the NCAA record for the longest run in a bowl game? Tonight's Aflac trivia question. This will not break that record. Ken Simonton out to the 25-yard line. Tario Harrison, another tackle. You have any guesses on the Aflac trivia question? You were
it's gotta
average
be
at best this year.
Yeah, no, I was well below average. I think I was about 10%. But it's got to be a Notre Dame guy. I mean, they wouldn't throw that out there if it wasn't 27 bowl games. There's somebody in there, maybe a reverse for Raghib Ishmael at some point.
Well, it's likelier to be a Notre Dame player than an Oregon State player.
You know what? I know it.
You know it.
Absolutely.
You cheated. You read it somewhere.
Nope, I know it. I know it.
We'll wait a second because we'll let the people at home think about it a bit longer. Timeout called by Oregon State. Full timeout. And Simonton the lone back on 2nd down and 8. Smith throws. Hushmanzada might be off to the races. Check that. It's Chad Johnson off to the races for a touchdown. .74 yards on the touchdown. And finally a touchdown for the Beavers.
And it's that aggressive defense that comes up and bites you every now and then. No safety help for Clifford Jefferson. And Chad Johnson has become an amazing big play guy. He had a 97-yarder, which is an Oregon State record, 2nd all-time in the Pac-10 against Stanford. Now a 74-yarder here in the bowl game.
They're going to go for 2. Now, season full of big plays for Oregon State, and there's the latest. Touchdown by the senior from Miami, Chad Johnson. Trying to get it to 14-0. Smith has a man and another earned pass. Looking for Hushmanzada. So it's 12-0 with 4:18 left in the first half of the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. In the end zone.
And the official,
good pickup by Matt Davison.
The official was running right there with him and saw it the whole way. I don't know how he didn't call that a fumble.
Here's the kickoff return. Will we see that razzle-dazzle? Yes, we will. Javen Hunter on the reverse. And it didn't fool Oregon State. We had a feeling, as we mentioned on the previous kickoff, that Notre Dame might try something. On a kickoff return, they had this play in, a reverse to Javen Hunter, but it didn't work as the Irish had hoped. They're down 12-0. 4:03 left in the first half. Notre Dame being dominated, but still within striking distance. The offense has been on the field for just 9 minutes and 53 seconds and has managed just 60 yards in total offense. Play-action fake by Lavecchio. Here's looking deep. He runs out of time. Sacked by Ryan Atkinson. Here's Leslie Goodell.
Sean, Coach Erickson very upset with Chad Johnson after what appeared to be that he let the football go before getting into the end zone. He yelled at him when he came off the field, and then he just approached him on the bench and said, "What were you thinking? What were you trying to prove?" So he knows they got away with one, and very disappointed with Chad Johnson.
One thing, Dennis Erickson, everybody has always called him a player's coach. I spent that year with him in Seattle, and he does care an awful lot about his players. But let me tell you something. There is no more a competitive guy than Dennis Erickson, and mental mistakes like that drive him up a wall.
Empty backfield on 2nd and 21. Lavecchio has completed one pass so far. He's been under duress all night, and again, Ladarius Jackson took him down.
Everybody around the country kind of had an idea about Oregon State on offense because of the numbers Ken Symington was putting up. But what no one knew was how good this defense was, and it all starts with those two defensive ends. And we saw Ryan Atkinson, a defensive tackle, get into it a play before. This defensive front allows Oregon State to only rush 4, play coverage behind it, and it's like they're blitzing on every down with that pass rush.
And Dennis Erickson said that's the reason we're a 10-win team, the defense. They led the Pac-10 in total defense. We're 20th nationally. They're 10th in the nation in rushing defense, 16th in scoring defense, 5th in interceptions. Lavecchio with a flag down, dumps it off in the end zone. And it's Tony Fisher banged down at the 5. Is the play going to count, or were they trying to blow it dead before the tackle?
Now the officials were running in. The far top official, who was furthest away from the play because it's on the right hash, was trying to blow his whistle.
Dead ball, false start, offense. Penalties had the distance to the goal, remains 3rd down.
And now you have the Oregon State fans directly behind Matt Lavecchio. This becomes a situation it's going to be hard to hear.
The game clock should read 2 minutes.
A lot of the intangibles along the lines of a Joe Montana, maybe not the big arm, the size, but great leadership ability, the smarts to do the right thing time and time again. Wow, that's a shovel pass incomplete. Not a fumble, intended for Julius Jones. And that was a risky play out of the end zone. And after the pushing and shoving after the play, there's a flag down. And that's against Oregon State.
Why are you going to have such a great defensive effort and then let your emotion take over? After the play is clearly dead, Darnell Robinson comes in, and Calvin Carlisle throws down David Givens. Givens down trying to block on Carlisle. He has to remain composed. You can't cost your defense after a great series to have to stay on the field.
2:17 left. Each team with all 3 timeouts left. Lavecchio in the flat. Tony Fisher tackled right near the line of scrimmage. Let's check in with John Saunders.
All right, Sean, alongside Terry Bowden, coming up on the National Car Rental Halftime Report. We'll be joined.
They didn't even show up to the Coliseum for that Thanksgiving weekend game.
On 1st down, Lavecchio stepped up, short completion, and then Javen Hunter got buried by Richard Sigler, the inside linebacker. They need to hurry up here. We're going to answer this question after this play. Who holds the NCAA record for the longest run in a bowl game? Lavecchio throws it away. All right, you said you knew the answer. What is it, Ed, before it comes on the screen?
The Heisman Trophy winner from Oregon State, Terry Baker, had a 99-yard run. That is the NCAA record for a bowl game.
Whoa, kind of disappeared fast. If you weren't Evelyn Wood, we'll give you the details as we watch this play from the Liberty Bowl in 1962. It was against Villanova. And it was the only touchdown in the game. That was the last bowl win for Oregon State. Baker won the Heisman Trophy in '62 and played in the Final Four. The only man ever to do that. Played basketball for the Beavers. 3rd and 7. LaVecchio dancing, stepping up, throwing, caught. Javen Hunter. He can fly down to the 30-yard line, perhaps the 29. They have timeouts remaining. That's a 40-yard completion. They don't want to use the timeout here.
What a nice job of Matt LaVecchio. Underrated, really, as a scrambler and a runner. He was the fourth leading rusher on this Notre Dame team. Did a nice job of buying some time because the coverage was excellent by Oregon State.
Four-man rush. LaVecchio going toward the end zone. Too high for Getherall. Covered by Keith Hayward-Johnson. It'll be 2nd down and 10. 33 seconds left.
Notre Dame's been in a lot of close games all year long. The biggest deficit they had was 14 points for Bob Davie, and this is a time where he can really see what this.
He just hasn't had to.
Timeout.
And now the completion before this drive started. He's 4 out of 6 on this drive. The pitch to Julius Jones with running room, out of bounds with a 1st down at the 18-yard line. So we stopped the clock with 27 seconds left and got him a 1st down with a 12-yard run. Keith Hayward-Johnson made the tackle.
And this is where Matt LaVecchio, again, he is not going to be running the option as well as Arnaz Battle, but he makes good decisions. The defensive end crashed down quickly for Oregon State. He sets his feet and pitches it out to Julius Jones, who said he felt as good as he's felt in over a year. They got almost a month off before they started preparation. Notre Dame did for this game to get some guys healthy.
And then 40 of those yards for Notre Dame on the one big pass play to Javen Hunter. LaVecchio flush from the pocket. Bought some time with the scramble. Now he's dead back at the 27-yard line to Lawrence Grant with 16 seconds left.
This would
Charging Notre Dame. 2nd of the half.
That kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
2nd and 18. That ball's thrown up for grabs. Flag down as the receiver went down. Notre Dame caught a real break there. Not saying that Gibbons wasn't knocked down, but that ball was thrown up to Givens, and Givens only in a white shirt with about 3 black shirts around him. And the flag is going to bail LaVecchio out of a bad decision to throw that ball right into traffic down the middle.
2 bad decisions in a row by Matt LaVecchio. You're in a part of the field where you have to hold on to it any kind of points. It's Givens right here in the middle of the screen running, and it's Jake Cookus who pushed in the back. But Sean, I'm wondering how in the world David Givens could have gotten over there to make that catch. Thrown about 10 yards to the right. No question the contact knocked down David Givens.
Pass interference. It's the defense. 15 yards, previous spot, automatic 1st down.
But the rule says if the receiver could not have gotten over there to catch the ball, even with the without the contact, it's an uncatchable ball, and that ball was uncatchable.
Well, the best offense for Notre Dame in the 1st half. Oregon State penalties. 8 penalties for 85 yards now. Some critical flags on this drive, none bigger than that personal foul on the 3rd down play at the other end of the field.
Only able to use 1 play if you don't get in on 1.
1st and 10 from the 12. LaVecchio with time, but the end zone too high for David Givens. Dennis Weathersby had the coverage. Now if they're going to try another play, it better be fast. Zips it into traffic and incomplete with 2 seconds left. Richard Ziegler, the linebacker closest to it, eyeing the interception. I believe it was intended for Dan O'Leary.
And I understand the call by Kevin Rogers, try to get a big body out there, but he's not used to working in space. A tight end is used to going up against linebackers. I think if you're going to take a shot, David Givens.
8 out of 14 on the season. And 2 for 2 from inside 30 yards. And with a lot of help from penalty flags, Notre Dame is on the board on the last play of the 1st half. Halftime of the 30th Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Oregon State leads Notre Dame 12-3. The Irish have to feel very good about that score, the way they were outplayed virtually.
Well, Sean, alongside Terry Bowden.
Only lost to Washington. The Notre Dame rushing attack reminded the Oregon State coaches a lot of Washington, and that was cause for concern. But just the 19 yards so far on the ground for Notre Dame.
And the difference for Notre Dame, they have not seen a team with Oregon State with this kind of speed, and Oregon State with those defensive ends.
And earned a spot. There's the kickoff man. Tried 2 other times to make the football team without success. Good kickoff there over the head of Robert Prescott. Only to that panel for Notre Dame, Ed. Only down by 9 points despite those 2 lines.
And for Oregon State, who had a very balanced offense during the season, they've called a balanced game today. 17 rushing plays called, 17 pass. 246 of their 278 total yards are through the air. Jonathan Smith has not been very accurate, but his receivers, Hushmanzada, Prescott, Maurer, the tight end, and Chad Johnson have been sensational this evening.
Hushmanzada had 5 catches. Lead all receivers in the first half. They go back to their biggest weapon. Simonton nearly broke it. Got 15 to the 35-yard line before Shane Walton.
Jefferson, the guy who replaced him on that long Chad Johnson touchdown, pulled his hamstring. He's probably not going to be able to play in the second half.
Walton was the starter before injuring that arm. They're throwing it in his direction again, and it is through the hands of Chad Johnson.
Sean, they got to throw a flag on that one. Shane Walton, when he's going down, ties up the legs of Chad Johnson. It looked like from up here that as Walton was going down, there was a lot of contact between Chad Johnson and Walton. Johnson with the I'm open signal.
I'm open, and I'm not going to drop it on the 2-yard line if I take it to the house.
Well, you know, the foot contact, you can't call that, but that right arm of Walton gets down around the shin. Take it back, Sean. I can see why the officials didn't call that. Yep. The ball had come in and hit the hands of Johnson before Shane Walton reached out there with his forearm, so a good no call by the official.
4 wide receivers, empty backfield. Smith, look out from behind. He's taken down by Andy Wisney.
Texas A&M in the open.
3rd down and 17. Irish showing blitz. Smith throws it up for grabs, and Walton nearly picked that off with his good arm. Is the punter. Joey Getherall back deep. And they'll throw a flag on that. He didn't have the 2-yard radius to make the catch. He got drilled by Terrence Gray. A 40-yard punt, and yardage will be tacked on because of this hit.
In college, you have what's called the 2-yard halo rule, where you have to be outside of 2 yards until he catches the ball. In the NFL, they have no such rule. In either league, that would have been interference call on that punt return by Joey Getherall.
5-yard violation of the 2-line hit rule on the receiver against the kicking team. 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
And the mistakes keep piling up for Oregon State. That is the 9th Beaver penalty. Momentum on the side of the Irish early in the second half. Penalties. Tony Fisher opens as the 1-back with 3 wide receivers. And Fisher goes down for a loss. Speaking of going down for a loss, Lavecchio frequently under siege in the first half.
Only 3 sacks statistically for Oregon State, but an excellent job. The 2 defensive ends for Oregon State in their final games, making life miserable for Matt Lavecchio. This time should have thrown it away. And Dolores Grant, with that great closing speed, runs a 4.5 40 on the close.
Look out, he gets hit from behind again. A flag thrown. That's a live football. Darnell Robinson knocked the ball out. Oregon State has recovered, but there was a flag thrown by the referee, John Smith. Eric Manning came up with the loose football after Robinson knocked it out.
Sean, we talked about the fewest ever by Notre Dame turnovers to games, with 8 turnovers in 11 games.
There's a fumble on the play. 1st down, LSU.
And I mentioned at the outset, the one way on defense that you can cause a team to have turnovers is get into their backfield where the ball is handled between the quarterback when he's going to throw it or handing it off. Great job by Oregon State. Notre Dame does not turn that thing over, but a big hit makes them turn over deep in their own territory.
Here are the numbers, the record turnover numbers for Bob Davie. They committed 30 turnovers last season when they went 5-7. So you're looking for reasons for the turnaround. Start with the turnovers. No explanation for why the fumble resulted in the flag being picked up. Simonton goes to the 23. 2nd and 7. Smith with a lot of time. Going toward the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Hushmanzada. And now a flag thrown in the end zone after the play. There was another of those reserve defensive backs, Jason Beckstrom, who had the one-on-one coverage on Hushmanzada.
Unsportsmanlike against Oregon State. So
Dead ball, celebration foul against the scoring team. The touchdown count, the penalty will be penalized on the try.
Well, I guess it says a lot about the kind of team they have. They could have an 18-3 lead and counting, about a 60% proposition this extra point based on his history. And no problem. Notre Dame had momentum, but very briefly. A 23-yard touchdown pass puts the Beavers up by 16.
belongs as a quarterback and has the ability to open up the offense.
2nd and 5. And pitch to Jones. And he's on it, but way back at the 23-yard line. And for the
has almost as much speed as the best defenses he had at Miami, and you're starting to see that take over this game.
And that's a big statement, because those defenses might have been as fast collectively as any in the history of college football. So he'll pull back the punt.
Come on, 17!
Hushmanzada from the 28. Straight ahead. Bounced off one of his teammates. And the ball came out. They're not blowing the play dead yet. If it stands, it's a touchdown for Terrell Roberts. And they're not going to blow it dead. That's a touchdown for Terrell Roberts. So many uncharacteristic aspects now for Notre Dame. The turnover, and now a major catastrophe on special teams.
And Hushmanzada fumbled the ball earlier with Rocky Boyman, who caused that fumble as well. Rocky Boyman pulled the ball out twice, and the ball is bouncing. The luck of the Beavers is alive in Tempe, Arizona.
Might be coining a new phrase when we talk about special teams play, but it's hard to fault the Irish for this. Ooh, was he down?
Yeah, well, he was down, but then Boyman kicks the ball, a la Nebraska getting lucky a couple of years ago with a kicked ball in the end zone for a touchdown.
Well, boy, have the Beavers gotten some breaks from the officials, despite all those flags against them. Johnson's touchdown stood even when he dropped the ball on the 2-yard line, and now that play could be down, but it wasn't called. The 2-point play good. Robert Prescott on the receiving end of the pass from Smith. The Beavers dominated the first half, but didn't have the points to prove it. They have the points now. Your Huskies, by the way.
Thank you.
Victorious in the Rose Bowl today, right here on ABC. Julius Jones with the return. And another fumble, but the officials are calling him down. Boy, is Notre Dame totally out of character right now. Jake Cookus knocked the ball out.
Oregon State on defense has been fantastic. This time, Darnell Robinson on the outside blitz. They've been in the backfield all day. And Notre Dame trying to get the ball to the outside against this very speedy defense. Julius Jones takes his eye off the ball because there are so many black shirts that he thinks he has to juke. Once he catches the ball, makes a mistake, and another fumble for Notre Dame.
Vecchio in the flat, and David Gibbons is tackled very quickly by Nick Barnett, a backup linebacker. who was a starter earlier in the year when James Allen had those hip and back problems that we talked about.
And Sean, it is time for Kevin Rogers to pull out all the stops. I mean, listen.
I think he's trying, yeah.
Well, but
he can't execute this defense a little too quick for him.
Yeah, but he's still running the option, and then he runs a little flat pass over to the sideline. I think he's got to start taking with Joey Gatherall's speed and David Gibbons' side. You got 4 wide receivers. You got to start taking some shots down the field.
Flag down to the line of scrimmage. Gibbons the catch about a yard and a half short of the first down. Bob Davie talked to Leslie Goodell at halftime about how Oregon State's speed was in evidence in that first half. And it's interesting because the Oregon State players in the week leading up to this game, the penalties against the Irish, started to suggest that they thought Notre Dame's team was slow and they had a speed advantage, and the Notre Dame players and coaches kind of shrugged that off. But that advantage has clearly been in evidence tonight for Oregon State.
And I think the thing that has been really present for Oregon State, prevalent for them, is their team speed has lasted throughout the game. Sometimes in a game like this, guys will get a little winded with all the excitement, but it's almost like Oregon State's speed compared to Notre Dame's power has gotten better as the game has gone on.
David Gibbons up and running off now.
Ineligible receiver, illegally downfield against the offense, being covered on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
2nd and 16.
So make it second down and 16, nearly midway through the third quarter. Notre Dame trying to end a 4-game bowl losing streak. They've lost their last 4 trips to bowl games. Haven't won a bowl game since the '93 Cotton Bowl against Texas A&M. LaVecchio. And that pass is picked off by Darnell Robinson. 8 turnovers the whole season, 2 in 7 minutes here in the second half tonight.
And Darnell Robinson, 6 foot, 227-pound senior. He is a guy that Craig Bray, the defensive coordinator, does not have to take off the field because of his speed. He's out there actually covering a wide receiver, LaVecchio, with an ill-advised pass, but that is 2 turnovers caused by Darnell Robinson. One was the fumble he calls on LaVecchio on the blitz, and now out in coverage, the linebacker showing his versatility.
Darnell's a senior from Sacramento.
He can dance as well.
And he wanted you to notice he wears number 5. From the 22-yard line, Patrick McCall, the running back. Lots of room. First down. Shoved out of bounds by Tony Driver. After a gain of 13, he went out at the 10-yard line, just inside the 10. McCall's a transfer from Michigan. He was on their national championship team.
And a lot of help by Chad Johnson, a transfer from Santa Monica College, out there on the edge, getting a block on Shane Walton. Ties him up so that Tony Driver has to come inside out from his safety position to make the tackle. But Patrick McCall, he says he doesn't see there's much difference between him and Ken Symington. The coaches say he gets the hold just a split second faster than Symington.
Pass in the flat, incomplete. He was looking for Robert Prescott. Smith missed him. Brock Williams had the coverage. It'll be second and goal from just inside the 10.
This is the way Dennis Erickson has always done it. He's always allowed his defense to freewheel it and make some plays, make things happen, and then take advantage of the mistakes that are caused on offense. You know, Dennis, known as an offensive coach, but Craig Bray says, make no mistake about it, this is also Dennis's defensive system that we play.
Formulas worked for him for a long time on both sides of the ball. Nice move by McCall. He weaved his way down to the 4-yard line. And it'll be third down and goal there. Dennis Erickson deserves a lot of the credit, but really go back to Jerry Pettibone. There are still 11 seniors, fifth-year seniors on this team who were recruited by Jerry Pettibone, whose tenure ended in 1996 with a 2-9 season. Mike Riley continued to build up the talent there. He had a 5-6 season in his second season. And then they improved on that with a 7-5 in the bowl game last year in Erickson's first year.
Ken Symington, who had been recruited by Riley at USC as an assistant when he got the job, went with him to Oregon State. He said he would have followed him to Alaska.
And they could follow Chad Johnson into the end zone again, this time with the ball in his hands as he made his way into the end zone. A 5-yard touchdown pass, and the route is on. 33-3. And you wonder how ugly this score might be right now had Oregon State taken advantage of the opportunities in the first half.
You have a crossing route. And that's Jason Beckstrom, who is in there because of the injury to Clifford Jefferson. Did not know that Shane Walton was going to man it out. He went for the exchange, and there was no exchange. That's it.
Ryan Seska added the extra point. We talked about the explosive big play potential of the Beavers, and they have exploded here in the third quarter. Away as they lead 34-3 with 7 minutes left in the third quarter. Another good kickoff by Ryan Seska. Here comes Julius Jones trying to cross the field. Have to do against this speedy Beaver bunch. He made it only to the 11-yard line. Bo Marthaler made the tackle. Eric Tuma also in on the play. Here's Leslie.
I'm with Kevin White, the Notre Dame athletic director, and obviously a difficult game for you to be watching right now, but you have confidence in Bob Davie. You gave him a contract extension through 2005. You feel comfortable with that move, obviously. Yeah,
we do, Leslie. Bob has done a terrific job. He's been a strong and determined leader with his program. And, you know, we've gotten better week to week, and tonight is just, it's terribly sobering for all of us within the Irish community. I really thought we'd match up better. However, we were concerned about the Oregon State team speed when we came in.
You received $13.5 million for your visit here. Because you're independent, you don't have to share it with the conference. Where does that money go?
Well, we're unencumbered, as you suggested. We are an independent, and in 1969, when Notre Dame made the decision to accept bowl game invitations, it was decided at that point that any bowl surplus income would be invested into student financial aid. Let me tell you, there's 7,500 undergraduate students on the campus in South Bend from all around this country that are very proud of this team, and they're going to enjoy the benefits of this game.
Well, you're well represented here with Irish fans as well. Thank you for your time.
For having me. Thank you.
Since 1987, more than $80 million in bowl and television revenue generated by football has gone back into that general endowment fund, largely used for scholarships for the student population as a whole at Notre Dame. This is a homecoming, an unhappy homecoming for Kevin White. There have been 2 incomplete passes now in this Notre Dame possession. He was the athletic director right here at Arizona State before he was hired earlier this year as the AD at Notre Dame. There was a lot of speculation that he was hired to pick the new coach, but he likes Bob Davie, really likes the assistant coaching staff, and with the 9-2 season, why shouldn't they be rewarded? I'd like to see the assistants get their just due, though, and get the extensions as well.
And Bob Davie admits that he made mistakes early, and he had to learn to be a head coach on the biggest stage in college football. He says, I'm a fast learner. I know I made mistakes, but I've learned from them.
Vecchio getting a lot of tough on-the-job training tonight, but he's maintained his poise as advertised. Darnell Robinson chased him out, and be 4th down and another punt.
What an unbelievably dominant performance by this Oregon State defense. I really thought that Notre Dame in the middle of that offensive line, as good a middle of an offensive line as I've seen all year, would have some kind of success. But Notre Dame has not been able to get the ball outside at all, and when they go to throw it, they are getting swarmed without blitzes. That's really been the key for Oregon State, is that front four has played incredible tonight.
Joey Hill bowled a punt. Under heavy pressure, he got it off. Houshmandzadeh waved everybody away, then decided to pick the ball up. And the official's going to throw the flag. They're saying he signaled for a fair catch. All he was signaling, as he indicated there, was for his teammates to get away.
Fair catch is called. Penalty marker now.
Well, if the hands go above the shoulders, it is a fair catch. Let's see if the hands. No, he's yelling, get away from the ball. He never called for a fair catch, Sean. The flag should not have come out of the pocket. The official saw the hands moving, but they did not get above the shoulder pads of Houshmandzadeh.
Ed, any waving signal when the ball is in the air is considered a fair catch signal.
Return team. The receiver advanced the ball after giving a signal. It's a 5-yard penalty. First down, Oregon State.
If he had done it after the ball hit the ground, it would have been okay, but he was doing it when the ball was in the air, and that's why it was deemed to be a fair catch signal, because any wave in that instance is a fair catch signal. That's 13 penalties now for Oregon State, and that tied the Fiesta Bowl record, most penalties by one team. Florida State committed 13 against Nebraska here in 1990. There's another flag on the field.
Dead ball, illegal substitution. 12 players in the defensive huddle. A 5-yard penalty remains, first down.
6 penalties against the Irish.
One thing they did to try to keep teams from not playing the personnel game, you have to declare who your personnel is when you're out on the field. You cannot have 12 guys in that huddle.
I'd try to leave the 12 men out there. Never mind break the huddle with 12. Leave 12 out there and see if you can get away with it down 34-3. Right at the 50-yard line. 1st and 5. Smith throw into traffic. What a catch by Robert Prescott. With Brock Williams all over him. Prescott with his 2nd catch of the ball game to the 25-yard line, a gain of 25.
And just like the touchdown to Hushmanzada earlier, covered by Beckstrom, who had very good coverage. This was good coverage as well. Jonathan Smith, who was shaky early, has become extremely accurate. Beckstrom gets across the ball, but Robert Prescott, Tim Lopano, the offensive coordinator, said what strides this guy made. He dropped a lot of balls back in 1999. He hasn't been dropping them in 2000. That was a fantastic grab.
Simonton chopped down
Simonton carries
by Ron Israel at the 21-yard line. Israel's the brother of Steve Israel for many years, a defensive back in the NFL. They're very close. Matter of fact, Steve calls every week to talk football and offer some advice to his younger brother. There's about 10 years difference in age. But when they were young, Israel was 7 years old, Ron and Steve about 17. They shared a room and lie awake at night talking about football, and they still do.
He gets home and there are messages on his machines critiquing.
Simonton inside the 5 and down at the 3-yard line.
And there won't be a whole lot of critiquing on Israel's machine when he goes home, because this has been a total team effort by Oregon State, and the safety just does not have much to do against this Oregon State offense. What a 22 rushing plays, 22 passing plays. This thing has been changed back and forth for Oregon State out of multiple formations, and Notre Dame just has not solved this equation tonight.
1st and goal from the 4. Simonton bulldozing his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Oregon State.
Well, if you're going to go for it down around the goal line without a fullback in your offense, you might as well follow your best offensive lineman, Chris Gibson, the center. The little guy at 276 pounds. An excellent job of double teaming the nose guard right up the backside. Ken Simonton runs. Get out of my way, big fella. I just scored. And, of course, then you get to celebrate. That's for an offensive lineman. There's your moment in the sun.
Seska. Might be getting leg weary. 41-3. Still 4:54 left in the 3rd quarter. Notre Dame, one of those schools, most people either love them or can't stand them, and the Notre Dame haters have to be enjoying this one.
Dennis Erickson, who had some experience against Notre Dame, was 1-1 during his time. Of course, everybody remembers those big games, but the Nokia game summary today has been total domination, 384 yards of total offense. Simonton now with 80 yards rushing, and Notre Dame uncharacteristic 2 turnovers, minus 13 yards rushing. Now that takes into effect 36 yards and lost yardage by sacks of Oregon State at Cascade High School in Everett. So he's been around football his whole life, and during his formative years when he was playing in college football, all-conference quarterback at Montana State, of course, Notre Dame was having sensational years.
Seska's kickoff. Tony Driver finally pulled down from behind out at the 38-yard line. Nice run back. Noah Happy made the tackle. Appropriate name for an Oregon State Beaver right now, Happy. The Tostitos flashback, a happier moment for the Irish. The 1989 Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Rocket Ismail catching that Tony Rice pass, a 29-yard touchdown in the second quarter. The Irish beat West Virginia, came into that game undefeated, 34-21, and Notre Dame won the national championship.
Remains the highest rated college football game on television ever, a 25.1 share. 52 million people tuned in to watch that ball game.
Underneath pass, Lavecchio to David Gibbons. He's one of the best athletes for the Irish. Gibbons pulled out of bounds by James Allen.
Gibbons, forced out by Allen.
Attendance here tonight, 75,428. That is a sellout. It's the third largest crowd in Tostitos Fiesta Bowl history, and the largest crowd for a game that did not have the national championship at stake. 15 of the last 16 Tostitos Fiesta Bowls have been sellouts, and there isn't a bowl organization in the country that does it any better than John Junker and his group right here in Tempe. Terrence Howard delivering a blow to the defenders. He went out of bounds with a first down. He threw Dennis Weathersby for a loop on the far sideline. First down near midfield.
And this is a chance for Notre Dame and their coaching staff to start taking a look at some folks and see what they can do. Terrence Howard, who had played free safety his first year at Notre Dame, really considered leaving school. His dad talked him into staying several times, but Bob Davie needs to start seeing what some of these guys can do.
Well, Howard was homesick and originally as a freshman. Then he was disgruntled about a lack of playing time. And it was his dad who talked him into staying. Willie Fisher, the ball carrier. And unfortunately, his dad, Tracy, passed away this summer. And Terrence Howard was very grateful that he did get home in time to talk with his dad and tell him how much he loved him just before he died. And his dad told him, if you stick it out, you'll be rewarded at a place like Notre Dame, and that is what has happened.
Very lucky to be there before his father passed away, and when he walked in to see his dad in the room, his dad asked him pittingly, what are you doing home? Because he'd been home so many times during his freshman year, he had to kick him out of the house to send him back to Notre Dame.
David Gibbons couldn't come up with that pass from Lavecchio at the 36-yard line. Third down and 8 upcoming.
And this will give the Irish coaches a really good idea of what they can do with this offense. Kevin Rogers has been through this before, where he had to tweak offenses, had different type quarterbacks when he was the coordinator at Syracuse. Of course, Donovan McNabb, they had to invent an entire new system for him, take everything into account, the great talents McNabb had. But really, this offense was designed for Arnaz Battle, and they've really had to tweak it a little bit, and they'll spend more time tweaking it during the offseason for Lavecchio.
Lavecchio in trouble and sacked again. Sacked for the 5th time. Ladarius Jackson and Dwan Edwards combining. And a flag thrown. Jackson, I believe, is going to be called for unsportsmanlike conduct. Wow.
Jackson ran over to celebrate, it looked like, on the sideline with some teammates. But again, it's been a 4-man rush all night that has gotten a stunt on the outside that they don't pick up. Ladarius Jackson and Dwan Edwards run the tackle defensive end stunt to perfection. They get the guard to slide out, and Dwan Edwards, a redshirt freshman that has huge potential. This Oregon State staff very excited to have him as an every down player next year.
Well, now they have the penalty record all to themselves. 14 penalties, the Fiesta Bowl record.
You know, speaking of records,
That ball, unsportsmanlike, gets the defense, celebration foul, 15-yard penalty.
Dennis Erickson was asked one time about the records that he's broke.
High penalty.
Was asked about the records that his team has broken. They broke the all-time scoring record last year, very close this year. Of course, if they win tonight, 11 wins, season will be the first time ever. Total domination, 7.7 yards per play. But Dennis Erickson said, we didn't have to do a whole lot to break records. All we had to do was start to win.
134 yards in penalties against the Beavers. Lavecchio, after an excellent fake, tackled by Terrence Carroll near the 31-yard line.
there'll be decision time for Notre Dame during the spring as well, because they have 3 very talented quarterbacks that they recruited. Along with Matt LaVecchio, they have Jared Clark and Carlisle Holiday, 2 guys that were more highly recruited than Matt LaVecchio even. That was why Larry LaVecchio, Matt's dad, was a little nervous when they signed those other guys. But they sat on the bench this year and learned because of Matt LaVecchio, got to be more a part of it. They moved up to 2nd and 3rd string, more involved in the plan. So they'll have a great grasp of the offense going in for competition next spring.
Arnaz Battle will be back as a flanker. There's some talk about playing him in this game, but then he would have lost a year of eligibility if he did. He's going to move the flanker next year to be LaVecchio's team, at least to start, with those talented youngsters behind him.
And one thing that you get, a big benefit you get from going to a bowl game, is you get basically an additional spring practice. You get 15 to 20 practices before a bowl game with no distractions. There aren't finals. They start practice after finals. You get to bring them to a place. You have them all day. No 20-hour NCAA rule. So Arnaz Battle has been able to practice all bowl preparation time on the scout team, and also learning the plays and how to run routes.
You might think this would be a good chance to get those other freshmen some experience, but they don't want to risk taking the red shirt off them. So perhaps we won't see Carlisle Holiday or Jared Clark. That's unlikely. 1st and 10, Notre Dame. LaVecchio just threw it away. James Allen was pulling him down as he delivered. He was well out of the pocket. No grounding call. Just a couple of games left in this college football season, and both of them enormously meaningful. The Nokia Sugar Bowl tomorrow night at 8. From New Orleans, Miami, and Florida. We're going to mark that down. Bring it out the first game of next season. Pass for Javis Hunter, incomplete.
3rd down.
Ennis Weathersby had the coverage. You think how close Oregon State was to being in that national championship discussion. We're at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe, Arizona. Sold out. The Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. A tight game at halftime. Oregon State led 12-3 at the break. They dominated the first half, but didn't have the points to prove it. They have the points now. 29 unanswered points in the 3rd quarter, and still 2:36 left.
And what people on the West Coast knew that the rest of the country is finding out this evening is that at the end of the season, Oregon State was playing as well as anybody in the country. Keith Gilbertson, who's the offensive coordinator at the University of Washington, a friend of mine, he said, you put that tape in, and that was a scary team to look at. With that speed and the things they can do on offense, this is a very good squad.
The only loss for Oregon State was to Washington in Seattle by 3 points, 33-30, and they missed a last-minute field goal that would have sent the game into overtime. If they'd won that game, they'd be 11-0, and they'd be in that national championship game. Jake Cookus and Ricky Walker had the coverage on David Gibbons on that incomplete pass. It'll be 3rd down and 10 for Notre Dame from the 28-yard line.
Cookus, it looks like he might have a strained calf or maybe even cramping up on the right leg. But, you know, people are going to look back, Sean, at this game, at the numbers of Matt LaVecchio, 9 of 24, 91 yards and 1 interception. And they're going to say he didn't have a great game, but in fairness to him, he has had to run for his life.
Well, he's been courageous under the relentless pressure. It is 4th down and 10. And he's under duress again, just lofted it up, and it's intercepted by Kate Hayward-Johnson. And Joey Getherall helped to take him down at the 40-yard line. Eric Manning put the heat that time on LaVecchio. And 3 turnovers in the quarter after having 8 in the entire regular season by Notre Dame.
Tough for Bob Davie to fault what Matt LaVecchio has just tried to do. He's just tried to make something happen. The pressure from Oregon State has been relentless. And Keith Hayward-Johnson comes up with an interception. And he was a guy coming in his senior year. They needed a big year opposite Dennis Weathersby out of the other cornerback to play this defense. And he stepped up and had his best year in his 5th season.
Well, LaVecchio came in with 79 passes without an interception. He had to go back to the Navy game for his only interception of the season. He had thrown 1. He's thrown 2 in this quarter. Patrick McCall, the ball carrier. And we're ticking down under 2 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. You know who the last New Jersey native to be the starting quarterback was for Notre Dame? But kind of a bonus Aflac trivia question here.
Joe Theismann.
He was Joe Theismann back in 1969 when he took the job. Theismann rhymes with Heisman.
And he still finished second.
Had a pretty good career, though.
Oh, he
still
did.
is. He's a terrific broadcaster.
McCall carries.
Patrick McCall carries again. Well, these folks don't have a lot of practice celebrating bowl wins or even bowl appearances. But they're already chanting and singing and cheering here in the final minutes of the third quarter. It will be their first bowl victory. They're warming it up already. Since 1962, the Liberty Bowl win over Villanova. Now a Division I AA program.
Was Howie Long a defensive tackle on that team?
Howie. That was Ed Cunningham, Howie. And yes, I do know where he lives. Smith's pass. Chad Johnson with a flag down. Got hit by Shane Walton. Walton, a former soccer player at Notre Dame. He came to Notre Dame as a soccer player, wasn't offered a football scholarship.
And his mother had to convince people back home that he actually was playing football. He was all Big East as a freshman, actually led the team in scoring, but decided he wanted to try his hand, and unfortunately had that broken forearm that made him miss the end of the season.
McCall run down from behind by Rocky Boyman. Walton played football and soccer at high school, recruited by the Notre Dame soccer staff, and the coach told him, Mike Berticelli told him, come and play soccer, I'll put you on scholarship, and I'll promise you I'll get you a tryout the next spring with Bob Davie. And that's what happened. He had the great year, as you said, Ed, of an all Big East player in soccer, led the team with 10 goals, tried out in the spring. Bob Davie said, hey, this guy's smart, he's got great footwork, obviously important for a defensive back, but Bob said, most of all, I saw in the tryout, he could hit people. And he was awarded a football scholarship and has been a football player ever since. He said, I like soccer, but I love football. End of the third quarter. And they're ready to party in Corvallis, and the Beaver fans who are in Tempe ready to get after it as well. ABC Sports presentation of the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl returned after this message and a word from our AV. When the bowl picks came out about whether or not Notre Dame was the most deserving team to be the opponent for Oregon State. Clearly they deserved it. They were 10-1, co-champions of the Pac-10, ranked number 5 in the bowls, but Notre Dame in the polls, but Notre Dame was number 10. They lost to Nebraska, which had the same record, 9-2. Virginia Tech was 10-1, and when we've seen what Nebraska did in its bowl game, hammering Northwestern in the Alamo Bowl, Virginia Tech pounded Clemson earlier today. You could certainly make the point that those teams were better than Bob Davies.
But you know, I like the approach Bob Davies said. He said, yeah, they all have arguments, but we make no apologies. We qualified, but there is a legitimate argument that maybe somebody else belongs.
Well, Notre Dame obviously has a lot of national sizzle. And if it's close, a lot of times they're going to win in that situation. Anthony Denman with the big hit on Patrick McCall. It'll be 4th down.
That's a look at Jeff Fain, the sophomore center for Notre Dame, one of the guys who really helped the resurgence of this running game. He's got a very, very bright future, although they list him as a sophomore, really didn't play as a freshman, so he has 3 years of eligibility remaining after this one.
Mike Fessler punting for just the 2nd time tonight. Low snap. Joey Getherall signals for the fair catch. And they violated that halo again. Didn't give him the 2-yard radius to make the fair catch.
And now you've got a little scuffle where another flag came out and emotion starting to run high for both sides.
Oh, well, if you're going to be breaking the penalty record, you might as well break it in style. They actually had not broken the yardage record, Ed. They needed 1 yard to set the penalty yardage mark. They had the number of penalties covered, but not the yardage. Now they'll have the yardage, too.
Let's get the all-time NCAA record book out and make sure, because they may be headed for that one before, with 13:33 left in this quarter. Dennis Erickson has this attitude. I mean, who can forget his Miami teams? They were not afraid to get into people's face and tell them how good they were. Remember Randall Hill, his wide receiver in the Cotton Bowl, running up the tunnel after a touchdown. They had crazy penalties in that game, and Dennis Erickson lets these guys fly around.
On the play against the kicking team. We have a live ball, 2-yard a violation of the 2-yard halo. We have 2 dead ball personal fouls. Both will be penalized.
Wow.
John Smith is going to need a throat lozenge when this thing's over.
Well, Ed, you mentioned the formula in Miami. Sometimes let the fellas be the fellas. And here at Oregon State, a big part of this turnaround, they have a lot of transfers. Junior college transfers, transfers from other Division 1A programs. And sometimes when you go that route, you're going to get players with troubled pasts, players who might not be great students. And sometimes you accept that stuff at the cost of improving your football program. We're going to commercial with 13:33 left in the fourth quarter. From the 48-yard line, Julius Jones, the ball carrier, across midfield. Well, it's been a disappointing night for Julius in particular. He wanted to have a big night in this game for a lot of reasons, including the fact that his brother Thomas, who was the great All-American at Virginia last season, the Cavaliers, is here watching the game tonight. Thomas was a first-round pick of the Arizona Cardinals and played as a rookie this season for Arizona. Notre Dame 0.3. Per play average in this half. David Givens makes the catch. Richard Siegler made the tackle. Here's Lester.
John, you mentioned Thomas Jones. I am with him. Talk about some tough footsteps to follow in. You know, your little brother's got to look at your stats and what you've done. All-time leading rusher in the ACC. I'm sure he comes to you for some advice. What did you tell him before tonight's game?
I talked to him. He'd been injured, past couple weeks. And, I talked to him, trying to hype him up about the game. Something he's dreamed about, playing in the Fiesta Bowl, big-time bowl. And, definitely I thought he came out here and did his best tonight. The game's not over. I think he was ready to play.
Now, you have your thoughts on what's gone wrong for Notre Dame today?
I think I keep my thoughts to myself. But, I think they just never really established the run. And, I think that kind of threw their quarterback off a little bit, But, overall, they just didn't have any good breaks. Oregon State came out, they played hard. They've been playing hard the whole game, and it shows.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. Appreciate your time.
Thomas Jones, whereas his alma mater just made a coaching change. One of the big stories this year, college football, so many of the great coaches leaving the game. George Welsh, Don Nehlen, Lavelle Edwards among them, and we're going to invariably forget a few. But good luck to those great gentlemen, and we commend Virginia on a fine choice with Al Groh taking over for George Welsh. Timeout, fourth down upcoming for the Irish. Looks like they're going to go for it on fourth down. And 4. Lavecchio almost threw another interception. Batted down by Richard Siegler. Javen Hunter, the intended receiver. And the Beavers take over on downs with 12:11 remaining.
With such a dominant performance by the defense of Oregon State. That time, Lavecchio, he had to force it in. I mean, it's fourth down. You've got to try something. There was nobody open for Matt Lavecchio.
Number 7,
new quarterback for Oregon State, Nick Stremick, who did not play at all in the regular season. The junior from California hands it off to Antonio Battle, who's their third-string tailback, and he was pulled down by Anthony Denman. When we talked with Tim Lopano about the quarterback situation, we said if something were to happen to Jonathan Smith, what happens? He said, oh my goodness, let's not even hope that happens. And it wasn't that he doesn't have confidence in Stremick or Tyler Thomas, but they really haven't played at all. Tyler Thomas appeared in 3 games and threw 5 passes all year, and Stremick didn't play a down.
And Stremick has 0 career attempts. I don't know unless they get in a third and long situation. Well, he's going to work on his handoff technique to try to finish this one out.
Stremick might have a chance to throw it, but didn't have anybody open, so he ran out of bounds near the 43-yard line, chased out by Donald Dykes. So the night apparently is over for Jonathan Smith. He went 16 out of 24 for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And early on, he was a little shaky, was not very accurate. As the game wore on, became very accurate. Got some help early by his receivers, but less than 50% passer on the season. Came in tonight 16 of 24, 305. Big help from his receivers, but it's that play action pass that set up all those big plays down the field.
With a single season touchdown pass record tonight. Improved at 19-8 all time as the starter at quarterback for Oregon State. Catch made by James Newsom, and the ball came out, and it's been recovered by Notre Dame.
Both of these teams, Sean, we've talked about Notre Dame, how good they were with turnovers this year, but Oregon State very good as well. They were plus 16 on the year, #1 in the Pac-10 and #4 in the entire country. So they were also very good with the ball. A little unusual for them to lay it on the turf.
Anthony Denman caused the fumble, and Jason Beckstrom recovered it. Irish back on offense when we come back. Fumble recovery takes over 1st and 10. Julius Jones picking his way through the traffic out to the 46-yard line for a gain of 3. Eric Tuma, a backup linebacker, made the tackle. Sophomore from Beaverton, Oregon. Time now for the FedEx player comparison. We highlighted the tailback trio of Notre Dame at the top of the telecast. Jones, Fisher, and Howard, who had averaged a combined 263 yards per game over the 6 games prior to tonight. Tonight they've combined for 56 yards.
And that is absolutely the question, the FedEx answer to what Oregon State had to do on defense was to get stout in the middle.
Jones took the late pitch and lost a yard on the play. Nick Barnett made the tackle.
But that play right there, Sean, indicative of what the difference has been tonight. You just can't get outside. Julius Jones, a fantastic back with a lot of tools. The pitch comes in, and that Oregon State defense is just running to the ball too quickly on that option. That has been really the story, is the speed over the power of Notre Dame.
Clock will run under 10 minutes remain before the next snap. 3rd down and 8 from the 45-yard line. It's 1 out of 8 on 3rd down. One of the many miserable stats for this Notre Dame offense. Still just 99 yards of total offense. They'll go over 100 with that catch by Dan O'Leary, the senior from Westlake, Ohio, out of St. Ignatius High School in Cleveland. One of the traditionally great high school programs. They've won the mythical national championships on many occasions, many state titles at St. Ignatius.
And grew up his entire life wanting to play for the Irish. Elected a captain. He was blown away by the honor. They went out that afternoon to run 110-yard wind sprints, and he said, I was smiling the entire time.
He has the pictures of Lou Holtz in his home on the home visit in a very prominent place in their home in Ohio. Movement along the line of scrimmage, the 45-yard line of the Beavers. Looked like Cepha O'Reilly jumped, but was he drawn?
Dead ball, offsides defense, defensive player in the neutral zone, calls off defensive player in the move, 5-yard penalty, remains 1st down.
Not only have the Beavers set the Fiesta Bowl record for penalties, they've set their school record for penalties in one game now for both penalties and yardage. 17 penalties for 159 yards. And they're ahead 41-3. Tom Lopinski, the ball carrier. Stop for no gain.
And there's one Irish who still has some fight in him. The leprechaun going after the Beaver. That's the hardest tackle I've seen all night. They should get him for excessive celebration.
Yes. Should suit him up and put him out there on this defense. The one thing about when you're the head coach, if you want to call the defense, is when you lose 41-3, you can't point the finger at Greg Madison or any of the other assistant coaches. Got to take some of this on yourself.
There's no one to turn around and look at it and ask them what went wrong. The buck stops on the desk of Bob Davie.
Catch made by Julius Jones, and he has a first down as he goes down to the 30-yard line. You heard from his brother Thomas. Julius says they get their work ethic from their parents, particularly their mom, Betty, who spent 19 years working in a coal mine near their home in Big Stone Gap, Virginia, while raising 7 children. Their dad was an academic counselor at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. He used to drive from Big Stone Gap, Virginia to Knoxville back and forth. Now he's a corrections officer at a maximum security prison.
The reason that the Jones family did that is because their family is all in Big Stone Gap, Virginia, and they wanted their family to grow up around cousins and nieces and nephews so that they could have a good community to grow up in.
Jones the ball carrier again. Tavita Moala made the tackle at the 27-yard line.
Moala, one of those guys who coming into the season was supposed to be a starter. He hurt his ACL in spring ball, and they had to put in Richard Siegler. And Tavita Moala and Richard Siegler have been rotating all year, and the coaches have left the rotation up to these two men as an Irish player is down, and they have worked out a system that's worked great for both of them, and there hasn't been much friction between them on the exchanges.
Moala is a senior from Hawthorne, California, one of 11 children. Kurt Bohlers is the injured player, a senior tackle from Whittier, California, of Servite High School in Anaheim, the same school that sent Steve Berline on to quarterback the Irish. And a big homecoming for Kurt in their regular season finale at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. He had about 70 friends and family members in attendance to watch him play against the Trojans.
And he was signed, sealed, delivered to go to UCLA until his high school team, Servite, went up to Chicago to play a game, and then took a train down to Notre Dame to watch a game. He said, I sat in those stands and I was bitten by the Irish bug. There was no other place I wanted to go to college.
Flip to Getherall on the reverse. He's reversed several times, but it yields nothing. A loss on the play of a yard or two back to the 28-yard line. Juwan Edwards stayed at home and made the play. Eric Tuma also there to help. Tuma's a walk-on, seeing plenty of time now in this route in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. He's been primarily a special teams player who had just 4 tackles all year, but he's had a couple here in the fourth quarter. 5 sacks, 3 fumbles recovered, and 2 interceptions for this Beaver defense.
Now the Beaver defense coaches get to take a look at some of these young guys and start to get ready for next year.
Nice throw by Lavecchio. Didn't have much room to thread that through to David Gibbons, but he hit him with a strike, and Gibbons has his 4th catch and a first down at the 15-yard line.
One of the things early on in Bob Davies' career that people questioned was when he left Jarius Jackson in a game against LSU, who hurt his knee taking a safety to run out the game. If the Irish fans are wondering why Lavecchio is still in the game, it's because there really are no backups. The 2 guys who back him up have not played all year, and they will waste a year of eligibility if they bring in Carlisle Holiday or Jared Clark.
Good throw by Lavecchio, but O'Leary couldn't hang on in traffic. Again, it was Eric Tuma who put the hit on O'Leary. 6:38 remaining. There's Carlisle Holiday. They compare him to Arnez Battle for his scrambling ability, great athletic ability. He was a great runner and thrower in high school last year at Roosevelt in San Antonio, Texas. The other freshman quarterback is Jared Clark from Sarasota, Florida, out of Cardinal Mooney. He's much more of the drop-back passer type. Threw for 2,100 yards and 27 touchdowns in high school last year, despite missing 2 games with pneumonia. Lavecchio throws it too long for O'Leary. Terrell Roberts had the coverage.
And when Bob Davie walked into the offensive staff and said, guys, what are we going to do as we look at Arnez Battle, of course, not dressed out, there was no chance he was going to play. He didn't really know who he wanted to play among those true freshmen, and it was Kevin Rogers, the offensive coordinator, who said, I think the guy we go with, because of his demeanor, is Matt Lavecchio, and he championed his cause, and of course they went on the 7-game win streak with Lavecchio under center.
There's Jared Clark, the other freshman. He'll be competing for that job in the future. On 3rd down and 10, Lavecchio zips one to Javen Hunter. He's fighting for the goal line and gets stopped just short. Eric Tuma again in on the tackle. Hunter slow to get up. He's grabbing at his lower right leg. Tavita Moala put the hit on him.
Sean, that right leg that he is grabbing, he's going to get bent back as he's fighting for the line of for the end zone, I should say. That right ankle that gets twisted under there had been sprained against Stanford in the middle of the season. And he has a big brace on that ankle trying to protect it, but with that much weight falling on it, I don't care what brace you have on, you're going to twist it.
It'll be 1st and goal for Notre Dame when we come back. Tony Fisher, touchdown. First touchdown of the night for Notre Dame. A 1-yard run by Tony Fisher. The shamrock on the sleeve hasn't been good luck for the Irish tonight. They added that to the uniform tonight for the bowl game, and it didn't help the cause.
You know, they've tried to go with green jerseys a few times at Notre Dame in bowl games. Haven't had much luck with it. I think that color green, we might want to start staying away from that during bowl games.
We'll try for 2.
Notre Dame will attempt a 2-point conversion.
Get within 30. He's running by himself to this side, and he didn't make it. Didn't have anybody in the backfield going with him. Eric Tuma chased him out. And the 2-point conversion attempt fails with 6:07 remaining. It's Oregon State 41 and Notre Dame 9 at the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Much explosive talent on that offense for Notre Dame as the Rams. Ricky Walker on the run back, and he didn't reach the 15-yard line.
One way to overcome 174 yards of penalties is just to flat dominate the game. 412 yards to 149. The one thing that kind of a little interesting, 93 rushing yards for Oregon State, 319 yards in the air. This has been a very balanced offense all year, but they will take what you give you. And Notre Dame early had those safeties crept up to the line of scrimmage, a little play action, some big plays over the top to Chad Johnson and Hushman Zada. It was the plays that broke this game open.
The Fiesta Bowl record for fewest yards by one team is 162. So if Notre Dame doesn't add to its total, they'll set that record, which they did not want to set. Penn State had 162 yards here against Miami in 1987. Remember the fatigue when Miami got off the plane and the fatigue. Vinny Testaverde on that team. Ball carrier was Antonio Battle, and Anthony Denman made the tackle.
Jimmy Johnson, who started that whole bravado approach down in Miami, and Dennis Erickson came in, won 2 national titles. 1989 when he won the title was with all Jimmy Johnson guys, and then in 91 one with mostly his guys, shared with the University of Washington. And I got to stand next to Dennis Erickson and George Bush at the White House after my senior year.
You are such a name dropper. From the 18. And I'm sure it was a thrill for both Dennis and the president to be sitting next to you. Battle out to the 34-yard line.
Well, my mother thought it was great when the guy next to her said, "Hey, who's that standing up there next to Ed?"
Saturday, ABC Sports travels to Australia, bringing the first big golf event of the new year on ABC. From the 34-yard line. Battle fights his way out to the 43. And really, Ed, you talk about the experience of Dennis Erickson, a winner everywhere he had been in college football, left Miami to go to the pros. That was not a great experience. 4 years with the Seahawks, didn't make the playoffs, 31 and 33. And when he applied for this Oregon State job, as he said, I owe Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director, a lot. I was not exactly a hot commodity at that time. And some question, Dennis, with your track record, why go to Oregon State? Well, he was happy to have the opportunity to go someplace where he knew he could win despite the history. Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director, a big part of the success there. The money being generated to build up the facilities you need to attract these kinds of players and win football games. Battle again for a first down, tackled by Darrell Campbell.
And the one thing, you know, Dennis Erickson was a candidate for the job at Oregon State back in 1984 when he was the head coach at Idaho. He was turned down by Oregon State. A couple of the professors blocked his becoming the head coach. We would not know about Dennis Erickson, I don't think, if he would have got the job back then, because back then this school did not have the financial commitment that they have now to the athletic department. They're starting to build facilities. They got an indoor facility that's being built right now, and it was really a blessing in disguise that he didn't get the job back in '84, stayed there, and ended up in Miami eventually.
Battle carries to the 50. One of the interesting offshoots of Dennis coming to Oregon State, his offensive coordinator, Tim Lopano, who had coached with him at some of the other spots, had applied for the head coaching job at Oregon State. He was waiting to hear when he got a phone call from Dennis Erickson, who said, would you like to come with me to Oregon State and coach? So Tim Lopano said, well, I guess I didn't get the job.
Well, it's funny because Mitch Barnhart had called Dennis Erickson to ask for a reference on Lopano, who had coached for Erickson at Idaho, and that's when Erickson brought up, hey, what about me being the head coach at your school?
Well, it's worked out well for everybody. Those assistant coaches in the booth next door, they're waving the victory cigars as the ceremonial victory cigar, at least, and that they've all left the booth. There are no more coaches upstairs.
I was going to say,
down to the field.
The guys next to us have gone down to celebrate with the team. That's when you know the blowout is on, when you get to go over there and start to unpack. There's Greg Smith, longtime assistant for Dennis Erickson, has been his offensive line coach since 1982. And Greg was one of the guys when Dennis was offered the job at USC that said, Dennis, I don't want to leave. I'm a native of Oregon. If you go, I'm going to stay. And that was one of the reasons. Dan Cazzetto right there, who was the offensive coordinator at Arizona State until this year, now the running backs coach. A very good staff Dennis has in Corvallis.
Battle again, getting plenty of work in this one-sided game. Let's check in with Leslie Goodell.
I'm with Robin and Len Smith, Jonathan Smith's parents. And now, Robin, are you a nervous type of mom? You sit up here in the stands, and if so, this game's been pretty easy to watch.
Well, it's been easier than some of them we've watched. But yeah, we both get a little nervous. But once the game starts, we have a lot of confidence in Jonathan and the team. And so it's fun.
Do you give him any kind of advice before he goes out onto the field?
Well, I try, but he doesn't pay any attention to me. Seriously, we don't. He knows what he's doing. This is his thing, and we're just his fans.
Does he talk to you about football?
Very little, really. When we get together, we talk about family things. We talk about jobs we want him to get done. We ask him how his grades are.
And Sean, she told me that they have 50 family members and friends here in the stands. I asked her if they bought the tickets. She said, oh no, we love them, but not that much.
And this family will be going to a lot of football games in the future because Jonathan Smith, very realistic, not much of a chance to be a professional football player. He is already starting to work the ways to become a college coach. Tim Lopano, you mentioned, who's trying to become a head coach. He's saying, hey, when you get that job and I'm out, you're going to have to hire me as one of your assistants.
Well, Dennis got the drenching. He's watching the punt. That's a good time to get him, actually.
Absolutely. Oh, that's a lot.
That is.
And it's nice that they actually had the orange-colored Gatorade over there. Significant of the Oregon State uniform.
Terrence Howard, the ball carrier. Oregon State, its first bowl victory since 1962 and just its third game since then. What a bowl season it's been for the Pac-10. BC beat Arizona State. We should point out it's been an excellent bowl season for the Big East as well. And UCLA lost, but then Oregon bounced back to get the first win for the conference. Washington won today, and now Oregon State will make it 3-2 for the Pac-10. Didn't start out well for the Pac-10. It's been better the last few days.
Dennis Erickson getting ready for this bowl game. We just saw him get drenched. They came down very early from Oregon State. I mentioned that they're building that indoor facility. It won't be ready till next year. They've been down here since December 21st. It's the first time he's had to do that because in Miami they never had to travel until a few days before the game. Well, with this kind of result, even with that indoor facility, I would imagine he's going to be going early to bowl games for the rest of his time there at Oregon State.
They were passing out the Fiesta Bowl champion T-shirts. on the far sideline. Flag down before the snap on third down.
Penalty marker down.
41-9 Oregon State with 31 seconds left.
Dead ball, illegal substitution on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
2 college football games left in this season, both with national championship implications perhaps. Tomorrow night at 8, Miami and Florida in the Nokia Sugar Bowl. And Wednesday night at 8, the national championship game for the BCS. Number 1 Oklahoma, number 2 Florida State in the FedEx Orange Bowl from Miami.
All right, I'm on the record, Miami, Florida State. I need your pick so I can write it down.
We're taking the chalk there, the favorites. Miami, they're just so impressive with their team speed. And I think Florida State just has a little better club than Oklahoma. But the great thing is, at least Oklahoma will have a chance to prove that wrong on Wednesday night. And Oregon State proved tonight that it intends to stick around at the top of the college football landscape for a while. It's a perch to which they are unaccustomed. They're starting to dig their heels in a little bit at the top of the college football landscape.
And if this was your first chance to get to see Oregon State, because they didn't play a lot of nationally televised games, get used to this scene with Dennis Erickson and the recruiter that he is. This program will be on top for a while.
And he's with Leslie Goodell.
Well, Coach, you had quite a drought at Oregon State. You've been a part of some big games in your career. Where does this one rank?
Well, I mean, obviously, because it's a Fiesta Bowl and playing a BCS game, it's about as big as there is. We had a lot of hard-fought battles just to get here, but to win this and play as well as we did against a quality program, it just doesn't get any better than that.
The Pac-10 has been so well represented in bowl games this year, but more importantly for Oregon State, what do you think this says about this team?
Well, we're a football program that's on the rise, and hopefully we can continue to be. It's a program that's going to get better and better all the time. This will just help us get to that next level, hopefully.
You think the people who didn't really know about Oregon State at the beginning of the year are going to take notice now?
Well, I hope that they do. I'm sure that they will. Hopefully they'll see that. It's unbelievable how many fans we had here. That's what makes us all really proud, is how people are starting to get involved.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
They weren't even ranked in the preseason top 25 this year. They finished 11-1, first 11-win season in school history. They are the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl champions in 2001, and undoubtedly they'll finish in the top 5 with their highest ranking ever. Once again, the final score, Oregon State 41,